If you watched Carlos Alcaraz lift trophy after trophy this season, it's easy to think his life is perfect. 8 titles, 2 Grand Slams, year-end World No.1, highlight reels every week. But here's the twist that nobody expected. Carlos himself says the reality is completely different. In a surprisingly honest interview with El País, the 22-year-old admitted, "Our life is not as easy as people think." And for a player sitting at the very top of the sport, that line hits hard. Because tennis fans have believed the same thing for years. If you're a superstar, traveling the world, making money, winning matches, how tough can it really be? But Alcaraz's answer challenges that entire belief system. And today, we're digging into the truth behind his words. The pressure, the schedule, the rivalry, the mental toll, the moments that cracked him, and the hidden reality that even the most talented player of his generation can't escape. This isn't a highlight video. This is the story behind the curtain, and why one of the brightest stars in tennis finally said out loud what every top player quietly lives through. Carlos Alcaraz didn't just have a good year. He put together one of the greatest seasons of the modern era. 8 titles, 3 Masters 1000, 2 Grand Slams, including that historic French Open final where he came back from 2 sets down against Jannik in 5 hours and 29 minutes. And he locked in year-end #1 before the ATP Finals even ended. On paper, it looks like a dream. But here's the part fans don't understand. Success comes with expectations. Expectations come with pressure. And pressure grows with every win. Because the moment you become the guy, tennis stops feeling like a sport and starts feeling like a job where you're not allowed to fail. Every tournament becomes, if he doesn't reach the final, it's a disappointment. Every match becomes, if he drops a set, he's off his game. Every loss becomes, what's wrong with Alcaraz? And the truth is, he didn't get stronger because the season went well. The pressure got heavier. But it wouldn't take long for that pressure to show. Paris Masters, October 2025. Carlos walks onto court as the hottest player of the season. And then, everything collapses. He hits 54 unforced errors. He looks tight, frustrated, completely unsettled. Cameron Norrie takes him out in straight sets. And the tennis world loses its mind. But here's what matters. This wasn't a bad match. This was a cry for help the audience didn't understand. Because Paris exposed something he hid all year. Burnout, mental fatigue. The weight of playing at superstar level non-stop. He'd been winning so much, so consistently, that people forgot he's human, forgot he's 22. Forgot he's still learning how to manage the expectations of being the face of a new era. And that pressure only grows when your biggest rival is having the best season of his life, too. Being world #1 isn't a ranking, it's a responsibility. You carry your country, you carry the tour, you carry media narratives, you carry fan expectations, you carry sponsors, and every single one of those expects perfection. Carlos doesn't just play matches. He represents Spain. He represents the ATP. He represents a generation that wants him to be the successor to Nadal. At 22, while traveling the world almost year-round, while managing his body, while meeting obligations, while constantly being compared to the greatest of all time. This is the part the public doesn't see. The #1 ranking gives you status, but it steals your freedom. And Carlos finally said it plainly. You don't notice what's going on until you live it firsthand. And then there's the rivalry keeping him awake at night. Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner have the greatest rivalry of their generation, and rivalries look fun on TV, but living one is exhausting because every tournament becomes a scoreboard comparison, every match becomes a referendum on who's in form, every win or loss adds weight to a narrative neither of them can escape. Sinner pushes Alcaraz, Alcaraz pushes Sinner, and while that brings out their best tennis, it also pushes their mental limits. When Sinner won title after title, the world asked, is he surpassing Alcaraz? When Alcaraz reclaimed #1 at the US Open, the world asked, is Sinner falling behind? When both meet in finals, it becomes fuel and pressure. This isn't a rivalry, it's a boxing match spread across 11 months of the year. And inside that rivalry, Carlos doesn't just have to win, he has to prove something every time he steps on court. But the heaviest toll isn't emotional, it's the day-to-day grind fans never see. Fans see 3 hours of tennis, they don't see the other 21, the early flights, the jet lag, the airport to hotel to court cycle, the physio sessions, the recovery boots, the ice baths, the practice courts, the tactical meetings, the diet, the routines, the loneliness, the expectations, the injuries you play through, because the calendar doesn't stop. A tennis player isn't just an athlete, he's a traveler, he's a performer, he's a brand, he's a role model, he's a national symbol, he's a content engine for a billion-dollar sport. And when Carlos says, our life is not as easy as people think, he isn't complaining, he's telling the truth fans never hear because players aren't allowed to sound vulnerable. And that brings us to the line that sparked this entire documentary. Alcaraz didn't say his life is hard because he's struggling. He said it because, for once, he wanted fans to understand the full picture. Not the highlight reels, not the trophies, not the celebrations, but the sacrifice behind the success. The weight of expectations, the pressure of a new era, the burden of being #1, the grind of travel, the heartbreak moments, the emotional dips, the burnout that hit him in Paris, the rivalry that pushes him higher than ever, the truth behind the smile he always gives the crowd. When he says the life of a professional athlete is harder than the public thinks, he's not trying to change your mind. He's revealing something personal. And if this is what life feels like at 22, what happens when he hits 25, or 28, or 30? This is the story fans never hear until players retire. But Carlos said it now, because maybe he wants the world to understand him, not as the superstar, not as the phenom, but as a kid from Murcia who's still figuring out how to carry everything on his shoulders. From my point of view, this is the first time Carlos Alcaraz has ever let the public see past the smile. People look at him and see the joy, the flair, the drop shots, the fireworks. They see the kid who plays like tennis is the greatest game ever invented. But I think that's exactly why this quote matters. Because for a player who loves the sport this much, to openly say, our life is not as easy as people think, tells you just how heavy things have become behind the scenes. I've watched him rise from a teenager with fearless instinct to a world #1 carrying an entire generation's expectations. And if anything, success seems to have made his life tougher, not easier. Every match is a judgment. Every loss is a crisis. Every win comes with the expectation that he'll do it again, and again, and again. From where I sit, this feels like a turning point. Not in his tennis, but in his honesty. This is the first time he's peeling back the illusion and saying, I'm human. I get tired. I struggle. I break. This life takes more than you think. And if someone as naturally joyful as Carlos is starting to feel the pressure, maybe the sport needs to rethink what it demands from the players who carry it. Carlos Alcaraz had the best season of his life. He won more, achieved more, proved more than anyone his age ever should. But behind all of it, he lived a year that drained him physically, mentally, and emotionally. And when he finally said, our life is not as easy as people think, he wasn't exaggerating. He was opening a door most players never dare to open. Now the question becomes, in a sport built on pressure, expectation, and nonstop competition, do we ask too much of players who are barely in their 20s? Let the debate begin.